holistic scan.
Well, this is a familiar feeling. Waking up in a pod while a sassy AI is pestering me. What is it this time?
Hello, I am Gal.
Hey everyone, my name is Meza and we're checking out StarRupture. The devs gave me access to the upcoming playtest so that I can go make all the mistakes without being able to look up anything online. To see how the game feels and that I can give you my honest opinion of it. If you want to see the full uncut 3.5-hour session I had with it so far, there is a members only video of it. If you prefer the live stuff, I'll be streaming StarRupture on Monday the 28th of July from 6 PM BST. Needless to say, spoilers ahead, and if you're not a fan of arachnids, consider yourself warned.
Welcome to Arcadia 7 in the Rupture system.
So what I can gather is that we're convicts sent down to Arcadia 7 to exploit the planet of its resources. Standard stuff. First things first, I need to go and obtain something called the Meteor Heart. If I could wager a guess, I'd say it comes from meteors. Bingo! I don't know what I expected it to look like, but at least it's not beating. I'm very quickly tasked with building a base core, which will act as the centerpiece of our new existence. This is our first peek at the building system, which is really surprisingly good, aside from it telling me that I'm not stable. Oh no, wait, that's the building not stable. Never mind. So this building has these modifiers on the bottom, which is align to terrain, vertical snap, lock to level, and lock location. These are extremely useful tools. Otherwise, it seems like we have a world grid, and we just need to place this down.
Good work.
Thank you.
You'll need building materials to build the rest of the base.
That tracks. It can't be a survival open world game without having to gather resources. Fortunately for us, there's plenty of resources nearby. So let's go grab up some wolfram, and then let's get some titanium, and let's see what we can do with them. Wait, what happened to my gun thingy? Hello? Oh yes, learn to read, Meza. Your harvester is overheated. Press R to cool it down. Oh my god, look at that animation. That is amazing. I want to see it again. With all the materials gathered, we head back to the lander to create these construction hockey pucks that we can then use to plop down our first habitat, a printer, and a terminal to link up with our corporate overlords, which seem to be a very clever way of hiding a tech tree in plain sight. I guess we'll learn more once we've finished the training. One thing that I found during this process is that the resource locations seem to have spots that are better for hand mining than others. For the wolfram, it seems to be the arch, and for the titanium, it seems to be these more white tainted columns. And you know you hit the right spot when you start gathering double the amount of the normal materials. After putting enough titanium into the orbital cargo launcher and watching many rocket-powered frisbees get yeeted into orbit, I was finally granted access to the basics of automation. So as you would expect, I got a miner, which unsurprisingly snapped onto the titanium deposit that we found earlier. I then got told that every connected element can transfer energy, and that includes the rails, which are a very fun alternative to conveyor belt. Fortunately for me, my existing small base already has some solar power that I can use. The rail is extremely intuitive to place. It goes from the point you start at to the point that you lead it to, and as you pull the rail, you automatically place the supports needed for it. Put these to work, unlocking the next level was a breeze, and that allowed me to get access to the analyzer. I was hoping it would help me learn more about the things that I find on the planet, especially in the food department because I was lacking there, but I quickly learned that it really doesn't help. Some upgrades or unlocks seem to need data points. You can get these when you feed things to the analyzer. Just beware, it gives off a rather loud noise. I then got a furnace which allowed me to cook the raw ore into ingots, which then immediately got sent to the magic rocket frisbees for science. After enough of those went up, I got notified that I've completed my training. Apparently I was restricted of movement until now, but I honestly had no idea. With this newfound freedom, I suppose it's time to go and explore. There's plenty of interesting landmarks to see in this beautiful handcrafted map, and I was feeling all sorts of overwhelmed by options. So I picked a random direction and headed towards the first thing that caught my eye, this field of red leaves with something bulging out in them. And it had some warts on it that were called pricklers. I then stumbled upon a previous pioneer sleeping by a probe. Somehow the USB drive in their pocket ended up in my pocket. Weird. I don't know how that would happen. I couldn't use the probe, so driven by curiosity, I headed back to the base to see what the USB had on it. I should have learned my lesson with the analyzer, but I guess I'm just a slow learner. It gave me a bunch of data points. That's what was on it. I've also made friends with the locals who don't seem to appreciate my solar panels. I don't know if they specifically targeted the power generators or it was a fluke, but in my limited experience, they seem to have a preference. I figured I might as well go and find the neighbors and see what their problem is. Oh hey, I just leveled up my movement. Great! I then applied the tried and true ways of diplomacy to come to a mutual agreement to stay off my lawn. Although I must admit that even though I was expecting the encounter, I may have had to go and change my pants after. I quickly learned that my mining tool is also a relatively useful vehicle to convey my argument with, which made me feel a little bit better about not having anything more effective yet. I also found some interesting holes in the ground, boxes of goodies, clouds of spicy tingles, and more sleeping pioneers. During this time, the highly efficient automation that I've set up have completed the next milestone and I've unlocked the recipe station, which I figured would help me unlock more food recipes. I haven't really talked about this yet, but at this point I was really worried about my sustenance as I was not finding enough resources to provide for me in the long term. While the corporate terminal is your main source of new technology, the recipe station is your gateway to unlocking new recipes for your existing machines. It requires you to submit a set amount of existing items, which in return unlock the desired recipes. What's great about this is that you can see exactly what each new recipe is going to give you. When it comes to consumables, you can also see their expected effect, which help you figure out if unlocking them is worth your time. You should get the recipe station as soon as you can, as many of the materials that the corporations need are also locked behind this. We've now lost our training wheels and got access to the ever-demanding corporations. A single miner on a single titanium node is not going to be enough for much longer. It turns out that you can only build buildings within the radius of a base core, and I've placed mine so perfectly that it doesn't cover the wall from node. Let's see if placing down another core can expand the base as a whole, or if there's some sort of a weird rule. Seems to work as expected, which is fantastic news. So let's plop down a Wolfram miner and set up the beginnings of a future processing line. I must say that the building mechanics, the thinking, and the general feel of the gameplay loop feels oddly familiar. I really like that even though it's a new game, a new planet, new world rules, I don't have to relearn the basics. I understand what the game wants from me and I like everything about it. I took some time to tinker with some of the build items and I've stumbled upon something that doesn't seem to be explained on the UI, or I'm blind. Both are equally possible. I found myself building a larger platform and placing down buildings one at a time felt awfully slow. In my desperation, I found a way to place down a grid of things. The UI doesn't explain this, so here's what you need to do. Select what you want to build, hold right click, drag a rectangle, and then without letting go of the right mouse button, press the left mouse button. If this tip alone isn't worth a like and a sub, I don't know what is.
Rupture's eruption has started. StarRupture has started. Hide. Extreme temperature detected.
I'm glad I didn't stay out. Holy moly! What followed was the definition of awe. I tried to include it in this edit, but it just wouldn't fit. My mouth was on the floor for the next few minutes, I got goosebumps several times, and it's been an experience that I don't get to relive for the first time ever again. If you are interested in that sequence, the unedited version is up as a members only video, but I highly recommend you experience it yourself. As you might have guessed, the planet gets spicy from time to time. Your only defense against it is the base core, which acts as a shield that cools off the area it covers. The base core can only support so many buildings within it. This is expressed as a sort of cooling value, which is initially 100. Every building you place down eats away at that number. When you're in build mode, you can tell how much cooling budget you've got left and how much of it will the new building use by looking at the bar on top of the screen. The number on the top right of the bar is how much you're currently using, and the number on the bottom right of the bar is how much you'll be increasing your usage by when you place the building. The cooling level of the core can be upgraded by opening the core itself and giving it the materials it requires on the update menu, which is indicated by the cogs. I suppose it's time for the good old early game expansion with the fabricator that now crafts higher tier items automatically. It's a familiar phase within the genre. This is where the first resemblance of complexity start popping up, and the visions of vast production lines and Excel sheets keep you up at night. My goal was to unlock the food station as my sustenance situation was still less than optimal. In the process, while tinkering with the expansion, I had the chance to play around with the rail mechanics. The rail connectors act like a combined merger and splitter. They automatically merge all incoming lines and they send them to their connected outputs evenly. What mode they're in depends on the direction of the rails connecting to them. They can also act as both at the same time, creating a 2-to-2 balancer in a single unit. I'm sure this will be useful later on. With all this work, I need someplace to empty my pockets to. Let's see what these personal storage boxes look like. Hey, you can name them. Have they thought about emojis? That's a no. What else do we have here? Another habitat. Is this a modular building system? Apparently it is. Let's make a lookout room for the next Rupture. Wait, can I stack them vertically? I sure can. Alright, what's better than one lookout room? 2 lookout rooms. Now there's one more item on my list of things that I really wanted to do, and that is to come and explore these ruins. Armed with absolutely no food and water, what could possibly go wrong? Everything can go wrong. This is called a tactical retreat. It allows me to keep going back to see what happens. Despite me having the storage boxes and not bringing any consumables with myself, apparently my pockets are full of stuff. Turns out these ruins have a lot of loot. If you want to gather it all up, you need to be able to carry everything, which means that coming here with large and mostly empty pockets is essential. Lesson learned. So what do I think of StarRupture so far? I'm having a blast with it. It's a familiar genre that offers what you expect of it. It blends the first-person survival with the first-person factory building perfectly. If you've spent any time around my streams, you know that I've got a relatively low tolerance for suboptimal user experience design, for things that feel clunky or unreasonably difficult for the player to do. I'm happy to say that I haven't had a single moment with StarRupture that would shock me out of the immersion it creates. The immersion which is underpinned by the exquisite and near constant in-game soundtrack. It's a small thing, but it means a lot to me as a streamer. The animations have clearly received a lot of love, the sound design is on point, and it seems like the world building is evolving with the game itself right from the start. The game doesn't feel like a completely new title that you need to get used to. It feels natural to pick up after some of the other titles in the same space, and it adds its own unique vibe, pace, and ideas to it. I suppose the next big question is going to be how it holds up with mega factories, but to get the answers for those kinds of questions, we'll need to wait for the release of the game. One thing for sure, this game has given me a core gaming memory that is now forever ingrained in me next to my first time thinking with portals, or getting chased by a dino for the first time in Ark, or restarting a loop in Outer Wilds. I cannot thank the devs enough for letting me experience this completely blind and unprepared. And now, I just want to play the game more. I want to know about the lore. I want to explore Arcadia 7. Speaking of which,